5:31 p.m. And we're going to start off with roll call. So Joseph Bryant.
Here.
Josh Mutar.
Here.
Renee Mankey.
Here.
Todd Shiver.
Here.
Sarah Feeney.
Here.
Gary Epp.
Here.
Brittany Wold.
Here.
Patrick Stanton.
Here.
Renee Stiles.
Here.
Sharon Jonathan. Jessica Evenson's here. And looks like we are missing John Dehan and Nick Shuey and JD.
Both of JD and Nick.
Yeah, and they're both have prior commitment, so they're excused. JD and Nick. That's why I'm up here. Hi everyone. No. Alrighty, so moving on to item 3, agenda approval. Give you all a minute to go over the agenda. Alrighty, at this time I entertain a motion to approve the agenda as is.
So,
Josh moves. Is there a second? Renee seconds. Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor? All those opposed? All those abstaining? Motion passes. Alrighty, moving on to approval of the minutes from April 15th. I'll give you a second to look over those. Entertain a motion at this time to approve the minutes from April 15th meeting. Josh moves. Is there a second? Renee seconds. Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor of approving the minutes? All those opposed? All those abstaining? Patrick Stanton abstains. Motion passes. Perfect. Alrighty, then moving on to section 5 reports. I don't have any. Nick and JD just said sorry they couldn't be here. They had other commitments they had to be at. So advisors?
I did have an update that Dean Swagner and Dr. Champagne will be here to discuss the campus life director position at the May 13th meeting. Is when they're planning to be here. So they'll be on the agenda for that. Otherwise, that's all I have.
Okay. Perfect. Alrighty. Moving on to section 6. Communications received. I've received no communications. None. Nope. None. Alrighty. Subsection 7, public comment, first call. Yeah. No, you're later.
Unless you want to make, yeah.
Alrighty. Seeing no public comment, we are moving on to section 8, old business. Supplemental funding request 1522, Student Fashion Association annual field experience for the amount of $10,000. And the floor is open for discussion. Yeah, Josh.
So let's jump right into this. So there's a couple of points that I wanted to talk about before I make a motion. First, the timeliness of this request I don't think was sufficient. By that I mean the time it took to hear back for the follow-up on the request. The second point I wanted to make is that regarding the trip itself, it's open to discussion with the committee, but I personally feel like only 3 of the days spent on the trip were actually academically beneficial. The other days just didn't seem like it's something that is beneficial for the academic progression of these students and for the university. The third point is that we are kind of getting low on our budget, so that's something I have to keep in mind when we go forward with this. That being said, I would like to make a motion to approve supplemental funding request 1522 in the amount of $4,300, and that's just the prorated amount for those 3 days out of the 7 for the trip.
Alrighty, so there's a motion on the floor to approve the budget for $4,300 for supplemental request 1522. Is there a second to Josh's motion? Renee seconds. Is there any discussion on this motion before we vote? Alrighty, seeing none. All those in favor of allocating $4,300 to supplemental funding request 1522? All those opposed? All those abstaining? Alrighty. Alrighty, motion passes. With, who abstained? Todd and Sarah. Alrighty, so moving on to subsection 9, new business, supplementary request 1523, the Harborough trip to Israel. And we will have 10 minutes, free presentation and 10 minutes for questions.
Okay, hello. My name is Benjamin Harbaugh. I am a music performance student here. I'm a sophomore, and this is my IHS Big Band Tour to Israel 2015. Hit the next slide. So tonight, I saw on the requesting form that it was off $100. I'm requesting $1,900. The actual expense is $1,938.96. And I'm going to represent CWU abroad all across Israel. The dates for the trip are June 4th through the 14th. We'll be traveling at least to Tel Aviv, Jerusalem, Beersheba, Jaffa, and possibly a show at the U.S. Embassy. I know we're going to be near the Negev Desert, and there's a few other locations that are still in the works. This tour will be videotaped for a documentary that's coming out, I think, in the year after. Next slide. These are just some pictures I got together of the Wailing Wall of Jerusalem, and then a trumpet playing jazz, and just a general map of Israel. Okay. So the purpose is this is a humanitarian effort to show solidarity with Jews and Arabs and show them that people care about them and their plight. In Israel, I'm sure most of you are aware, though, they're kind of disliked by their neighbors. And so I've heard from the program director that our presence there is uplifting to them, and that having American musicians go over and play is a very big deal for them. We're going to play for people who don't have the money usually to go to these kind of things. We're playing at orphanage and veterans halls mainly, and over there they're different than here. They come with built-in auditoriums. And so we'll be playing in actual venues, but for people that normally don't get this level of music. We're performing every night, and the concerts are approximately around 2 hours of playing about 19 songs, and it's free to the audience. So the benefits to CWU is that I will represent them internationally with professional musicians from Norway, Israel, Canada, and the US, and I am the only student who has been asked to be a part of this big band. And so I think that enhances the credibility of CWU's music program. I will be able to experience what it's like on a professional tour with professional musicians, and I will be able to share this experience with other students in my major. As I said, I'm a performance major, and I know that this is kind of living a life like this is the dream for a lot of other performance majors. So to be able to tell them a little taste of it is going to be beneficial. And as I said, I'll enhance the reputation of CWU abroad, and I'll show them the product of our music program. I will show other students in the university that there is support for funding to go on trips. I think the music department is pretty lucky with that, with the trips we get to go on, and just another example of that. And I'll perform well so that CW musicians will be able to have this experience in the future. This trip goes every year, and they switch off what country they're going to, and they do Israel once every 4 years. But if I get to go, it might open up the door for other majors to go in following years.
Sorry.
Oh, that's okay. It's a humanitarian effort to help people in need, and I think it highlights CWU's efforts to help the global community abroad. This is Central Washington University's vision statement, and I think that my trip fits inside this statement very well, and that it's going to grow me to see internationally just more of the world and deeper my education, and hopefully shape how I perform music. And so this is the breakdown of my expenses. The airfare is almost $2,000, 1969. Housing is $900, and the shuttle to SeaTac and back is $75. And the money I've received so far is $500 from Source undergraduate research and $500 from outside funding, like my family and friends. And so the total need is $1939 and 96 cents. And then next is any questions?
audition for it or apply, or how did that work?
My dad is the trumpet professor at CWU, and he was friends with, we had a professional musician, trumpet player, come in and play for us at the trumpet festival in November, and he met me and he knew my dad, and he said that he was going to go on this gig and then he had to cancel, and so there were open spots, and so he told my dad and suggested that we look into it, and so that's how we got the connection.
Any other questions?
So could you explain just a little more, maybe I missed it, what is IHS?
I guess their purpose is to just play music for needy people, and I think the focal point of it for Israel specifically is to show support from other nations. I guess that's the definition he sent me for it. Yeah.
And did you say that several students would have an opportunity in the future to possibly go on this as well?
Yeah, if it goes well with me, because I don't think having a student is, I think that's a newer thing, is if it goes well with me, it's going to show that Central produces musicians that can play with these international musicians. So.
Any other questions? Thank you so much. We'll vote on this next week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Alrighty, moving down to subsection B, base funding program reviews. We have conduct case manager. Hi, how are you?
Good evening, everyone. Can I set my
Oh, feel free.
I may need a gold. I also brought my business cards in case anybody wants to have one for reference. Sorry, I'm a little nervous. I feel like y'all are in charge of my funding, and I'm excited about what my job is. So give me this one.
For the team everywhere to be able to attend.
Thank you. Okay, so as you all know, this is my base funding program review for the conduct case manager or case management services. We can go to the next slide because I don't think my information showed up. So the case manager position was originally funded in the 2012-2013 academic year. I started in the role in mid-October of 2012 and have continued to serve as the primary case manager funded by S&A since that time. And it's a 10.5-month position. And that's all I've got for now. As far as student employment goes, this position doesn't have any student employees who are directly responsible for scheduling and contact because of the confidential nature of the services that we provide. For the most part, I oversee all scheduling and contact with students, with the exception of when I'm out. I have some sort of basic support provided. And originally, I was in the residence life office. That's where my physical location was. So I had support staff and student staff, basic needs being met through their assistance. And then now I'm over with the Dean of Student Success Office and Rights and Responsibilities. So those student employees serve as sort of the primary go-to for student contact if I'm going to be late or out for the day, but otherwise no student employment directly related to my position. So students are referred through a number of channels, and we've kind of boiled them down. This is, for the most part, captures our referral sources, but there are always outliers. The bulk of our reports come through incident reporting, so residence life and housing, university housing, new student programs. They complete reports about things that go on in the residence halls. We also have the behaviors of concern reports, which are, what you probably are familiar with our intranet. There's a behaviors of concern tab for students, staff, and faculty to fill out if they have concerns about anyone really, but primarily student behaviors. Then we have our suicide concern reports that come through the medical and counseling clinic website. So anyone from anywhere can fill those out. And then we have our various police reports that if a student identifies themselves as a student, or we already know they are, the reports come through our conduct coordinator, who then dispatches case management referrals. So our referral sources, we have quite a few. Through student success, a lot are identified simply through the channels I just mentioned. Also the Student Medical and Counseling Center, we meet with them weekly and they review cases that otherwise wouldn't come to the surface because of confidentiality. So students are asked by their counselors and medical providers if they would be open to having case management contact. So once a week we're given a list of names to do outreach with. Then wellness, university housing and new student programs, the student consultation team, which actually runs our behavior intervention team and our threat assessment team. So concerns that come up on a weekly basis. It's a meeting consisting of a number of different departments that are represented by administration. And then of course we've got the different calls that come in from faculty and staff, from academic departments, self-referral for students who find out about our services through word of mouth, and then the Academic Standing Council, which overhears petitions for academic reinstatement when students have been academically suspended, and our conduct sanctions. That last bullet there, those are often required case management outcomes, so we go at that a little differently. Students are responsible for following up with us, and they're given a pretty clear set of behavioral expectations for what they need to be working on in case management. All the others are very much us reaching out to students by phone and email. So we can go to the next one. So I'm not going to run through all of this because I didn't actually pay attention to when it started. So, our primary ways of reaching out to students are through phone and email contacts. If someone has a significant safety concern or issue that has come up and they're not responding to us by phone and email, we do have the support from the police department to help us conduct welfare checks. We also have support from Residence Life, where our professional staff and even some of our upper level student employees can go out and make contact with the students. In our first meeting, we provide a disclosure form that helps them understand the differences between counseling and case management, because that can be kind of a blurry line. There are two case managers now, myself and Jonathan Douglas, and we are both mental health counselors, and so we have to be very clear with students on the front end that even though maybe what we sound like is a bunch of counselors, we're actually not the counseling clinic, and so it's a lot of setting lines with students when we first meet. In that first meeting, based on the information we've received, we either review our reports that we've gotten, or we just ask why they think they're here, and they go through and will often identify the reasons for the referral, which then leads us to referral and any next steps. Let me go ahead and put the next. And these are, again, just primary case management services. So the assessments of needs, exploration of concerns impacting student success. We do a lot of work with outside agencies, so comprehensive mental health, KVH, healthcare resources, if that's their name now. And then any consultation we need to do with case management partners. We also have a new role as of this year. VPRC stands for Violence Prevention and Response Coordinator. Thank you. So students who've been identified as allegedly perpetrating an act of violence against another student will have support for the process by case management through outreach and attendance at the conduct hearings that we complete, so that in the past, students who are the identified recipients of the unwanted contact have had university support and presence for the process. Now both sides do, and case management fills that side as well. And then these are our partners. If I missed any, I apologize. We work with pretty much anybody and everybody, and these are our primary partners. Overall, I think the bulk of our, well, we'll get to the referral sources in just a moment. This is just a list for consideration. And then there was a question asked about how we solicit student input in terms of making services better and more accessible. We kind of are doing that on an individual basis with every student that we meet with, and we're working on a more formalized assessment process. But these are some areas where case management is being represented as facilitator for educational outreach, and we receive feedback about all of these areas after the presentations have been put out there, and then we can revisit those as they come back around in the next year. So in 2013, I want to just point out the difference in the date ranges. The only full year start to finish that we have to look at is 2014. So I just did the cycle from a fiscal year standpoint. So there was my start date to June 30th for the 2013 numbers. The difference in the two columns here is that the number of individual students is going to be a bit lower because we have our repeat students. We actually have quite a few students who have duplicate or concurrent cases that come through, but we haven't closed them out by the time a new case comes through, so they stay open. So in the 2013 year, we had 173 students. In 2014, 289. And then as of the start of the 2015 cycle, we had the luck of receiving funding from Student Living for a second case management position. So even though this is only up through the end of March, our numbers are already looking pretty high. So the need is clearly there. That's all I'll say about that. And then these are the different types of referral sources. So there were report types, but then referral sources as well. So ASC is Academic Standing Council. BCR is Behavioral Concern Report, Behaviors of Concern Report. SCR is Suicide Concern Report. Conduct is anything coming through rights and responsibilities. Academics and faculty, UHNSP, University Housing New Student Programs. Self-referred, Student Medical and Counseling Clinic, Dean of Student Success Office, Support Services, which encompasses disability services, TRIO, CAMP, STAR, others, advising, can't forget them. And then other is either parents reaching out or community members representing different agencies. So those are our referral sources. And these are the different case types. So we all keep a database of information about each student referral that comes in, and we code them based on what we understand the initial referral reason to be. And so I don't think I need to spell out any of those. I hope you can see those back there. But there's a whole host of reasons why someone might come in, and we just have to pick the most relevant one at the time of our referral and intake. It often changes quite a bit. A lot of our students who have self-harm and safety issues may have been identified initially because they're stressed out about academics, so they may not be reflected in the self-harm and safety areas, but often we find that if we just spend some time talking with students about what they need, they'll tell us. So those are our different types of referrals that we get. And then as far as being consistent with the CWU strategic plan, the objective 1.1, enhancing student success by continually improving programs. I think that our program really supports involvement and collaboration with as many programs as are out there, depending on student need. We can go to the next one. And then that next objective about enhancing effectiveness of student support services. A lot of students will say no to a referral unless we work with them on getting them in, and then their ability to maintain those appointments and stay connected with resources has been pretty phenomenal. So, inclusiveness and diversity, we work a lot with Title IX and OEO staff. We also present a lot of information in terms of educational outreach that have to do with inclusiveness and diversity. I'm a co-advisor for ABLE. That's a group for accessibility, belongingness, learning, and equality. So that's been a really cool role to fill. Go to the next one. And then public service and community engagement. With my department support and as a community member, I currently serve as one of the newest board members for the Alcohol and Substance Abuse Programming Board in Kittitas County. I work a lot with ads and with KDH and comprehensive, so I feel like the objective around integrating community with the university is met through some of those connections as well. I think that's about it. Thanks.
So how did you get into this?
Ooh, into this job in particular?
The field or?
Well, actually, I'm a double graduate of Central. So I came for my undergrad, graduated the first time in 2000, came back for my master's in mental health counseling, and graduated in 2008 with that master's in school counseling certification. I worked at Comprehensive in Yakima for about 5 years, and a friend of mine who's a faculty member here saw the job description and said, "This is you, you should probably go for it." It's kind of bittersweet that it's been almost 3 years. I was standing up here really begging for the job about that time. So I've been interested in mental health counseling and crisis intervention for as long as I remember having career aspirations. So, but really I just had the luck of stumbling across the job description and giving it a run. So
It's like it's a demanding field.
it sure can be.
Any other questions? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you. And like I said, my cards are here. You'll just grab whatever sent to me. Okay,
so much.
thank you.
Alrighty, and then moving on to subsection 2, we have Office of Undergraduate Research. Do again. We keep coming back.
You just missed us.
So great to be here on a Wednesday evening. But I appreciate you guys. Were you, oh, did you not receive a PowerPoint from me?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Because I have it on the thumb drive.
that was on Monday.
Yep.
Yeah,
Do you
okay.
want it on a thumb drive?
You might want that.
I do. Thank you.
You can yell till I'm 10 minutes if you want. Doesn't matter what side I.
Oh, so you're not
Okay.
ready.
So my name is Karen Gabriel. Hopefully the first bit of information I'll be covering you already were provided with details on. I'm the representative of the Office of Undergraduate Research and SOURCE. That office is funded with base funding from you, as well as SOURCE was provided supplemental funding this year and last year. And so this will be the second year of base funding as we move forward. Right now, organizationally, we're located under grad studies. Next year, as you may recall from previous conversations in winter quarter, we're going to be organized and housed alongside Douglas Honors College. So I'll be stepping down as the director at the end of June. A new director is currently posted internally on the HR site. So Sarah, if you're interested, something to think about. Physically, we're located in Black Hall, and we're going to stay in Black Hall for continuity's sake, even though we'll be shifting to DHC. With regard to the specific breakdown of our base funding and supplemental funding, when we requested base funding 2 years ago, to start for 2013-2014, we requested $15,000 from you to support research and travel fellowships to undergraduates at CWU. That was matched with another $15,000 from grad studies. At that time, we were hoping for about a 50-50 split, that $7,500 would go to research and $7,500 would go to travel. In fact, as you probably gather from how many people come here asking you for travel funds, same thing happens to us. So the breakdown's more 25% of the funds are going to support research, whereas 75% of those funds are going to support travel to present at conferences. And unlike you as a body that do support individuals going for the learning experience, we only support individuals who are in fact presenting or have been invited to present. With regard to source, last year the base funding from this institute, from you guys, as well as the supplemental, helped cover the cost of source programs that are given to student presenters at source. We also helped cover the CERC rental, as well as catering for the judges and the source presenters. And so we were a little, I didn't realize that you guys get a deal in renting the CERC when I made my request. And so we in fact were under budget for the CERC rental last year. Next year, source will go to 2 days, so we will be spending that full amount. Organizationally, as I mentioned, currently I'm undergraduate studies and research. That's my office right there. Officially there's no one with me. It's just me. So right now we do have a temporary staff member who was hired a month ago. The DHC, or Douglas Honors College, will in fact have a funded source coordinator position, along with the director of the Office of Undergraduate Research. So the work I'm doing will be supplanted by 2 new individuals working half-time each. Thank you. With regard to our sources of funding, because the Office of Undergraduate Research is supported through Ledger 1 funds that come through the provost and are allocated to grad studies, that helps cover my salary, as well as our membership to the Council of Undergraduate Research as an institution, and it's that matching funds for our research and travel fellowships, half of which you guys provided, half of which come down from the provost, and then whatever's left over, which last year was $300, it's what I had to spend on source. Last year we also went begging to the different colleges, the library, Boeing, and thanks, the biggest part was from you guys, but these other elements did go towards source as well. So there's all these questions that I'm supposed to get through and answer. In short, there are no student employees for undergraduate research or source. So at the moment, as I mentioned, it's just me. I'm a faculty member actually, so that's why my salary is covered under Ledger 1. Douglas Honors College, as I mentioned, will have 2 positions next year. So the next 2 questions that I was asked to address, which is how many students are employed and what's the prevailing wage, did not apply. Help us understand how you decide which program or services to offer students. Well, we offer essentially 2 services. We offer the fellowships, and students are deemed meritorious by an undergraduate advisory research committee that's consisted of 6 faculty who review those applications and come to a decision regarding who should be funded, and they are ranked with regard to the fact that we can't fully fund everybody. With regard to source, any student project that is approved by a faculty or staff member has access to source. And so this year we have 350 presentations again that we are currently busy scheduling with regard to source 2015, which will be on May 21st. Any questions so far? You guys would interrupt me if you had any, right? Okay, all right. Next slide, if you'd be so kind, thank you. How do you solicit student input for program service direction and growth? After source, every year we send out a survey that asks those source presenters, faculty, and judges how the event went and how they would like to see us change it for next year, what worked, what didn't work. Because individuals who received undergraduate travel and research fellowships through our office are required to present at source, because they have to come back and share with the campus community, That survey also goes to them, and there are some select questions with regard to how much did that help you finish your project? How much did those funds contribute to your ability to be successful? So every year we are asking students those questions. This year is the second year in a row that we've had student representatives on the source committee, and that will continue, especially as we move to the Douglas Honors College next year. We already have one student, the DHC representative on our committee. We also have 2 event planning student representatives, and we have a CESNE, which is the Center for Science, or Center for Excellence in Science and Mathematics Education, graduate student rep. Who have we collaborated with? We've been collaborating with University Advancement for the last 3 years to offer a West Side event for the award-winning presentations to be showcased. We have also, this is the second year we'll be working with event planning, and basically we bring all the event planning upper level students in, so that's about 30 to 40 each year, and they help organize and be here on the day of source. So they get to add scientific conference planning to their resumes and their direct hand-on experience. Oh, and Brook Library, we are working to permanently archive all source presentations in ScholarWorks. Last year we got a go on it. This year our aim is to get all the poster presentations in there. Yeah, next slide. Okay, that's really small and it's really not well lit in here. So basically the question is, share with us your student learning objectives and how do those program goals support university goals? Well, essentially, the goal of both my office and source is to celebrate learning, to celebrate research, to get students out sharing their research to both the campus community and to others at conferences, at symposiums, regionally, nationally, internationally. Along the way, of course, we're building ties with the community, we're building ties across disciplines on campus. And the other thing I work really hard on is really emphasizing that creative activities are scholarship. And so we try for a lot of outreach to music, theater, art, to really emphasize that they also are available, these fellowships are available to them. And we have had research projects now, both in music and in art. So we're really excited about that. With regard to university goals, if you're looking at the strategic plan, there's 5 big themes. Research and scholarship, theme number 3, right there. Pretty much that's what this office covers. Theme 1, which is teaching and learning, does have a subsection about learning outside the classroom. And this ability to do independent research and then present that research here at Source is a big step toward learning about what's going on in the classroom and taking it out of the classroom and being able to apply it for your own professional development. So I would argue that my office and Source has a lot to contribute to those strategic plans. Did I have anything else? One more slide. Oh my goodness. Okay. Gosh, it gets so small and so dark. So the question is, how many students do we help? Well, last year, this is 2013, 2014, so this is the first time you guys gave us base funding. We were able to almost double the amount from the previous year, which was $17,000. Total funds awarded, which was $13,000. We were able to give out $30,000. We're still not being able to fund everyone, partly because not everyone's meritorious, but we were able to bump up from 52% of all fellowships funded up to 70% because of what you guys have given us. That means a total of 89 students were directly impacted. That's how many fellowships, how many students were associated with those fellowships. So those are the numbers to pay attention to. That's why the big red circle's there. And then the next slide should be the numbers for Source, which once again, probably going to be small. So last year we had 312 presentations. As I mentioned, this year we're up to about 350. We had a lot of co-student presenters on those presentations. We had, of course, our event planning students helping, but what I really want to emphasize is we did door counts. So the overall attendance at Source was almost 4,000 individual head counts. Now that could be the same person moving from session to
I went
session to
twice,
session.
so-
Good on you. Yeah, okay, so it's actually 600, 300. But that really represents how much traffic those poster sessions get. And then of course we do conduct head counts for all the oral sessions as well. And this is only, that last year was the first time we started conducting those door counts. So,
I think that's important to know. 'Cause I mean, I can tell when I go in there that it's active and popular and well attended. It's good for your program.
yes. And there are, of course, especially early in the morning and as the afternoon wears on,
Yeah.
and certain sessions perhaps don't make a lot of excitement, but in general, those poster sessions really draw huge crowds. And in fact, this year we're going to have to expand into another ballroom in order to handle all the posters that we've got, which will be a logistical nightmare, but that's not your problem, that's mine. Okay, and as I mentioned, so how many students do you serve and what's your best estimate? These numbers don't then reflect how many people have looked up last year's source presentations on ScholarWorks. And so every month I get a new count, and that's usually about 100 to 200 looks. So either faculty are using it as representatives of what should be happening, or people are looking themselves up, but those counts are coming in, and clearly individuals are looking at them. I don't know who they are. I just know those are the counts for the requests to look into that ScholarWorks. And I do think that's my last slide, right? Yeah, okay. So, and I'm trying to talk fast because it's such a beautiful night out. I want to make sure you guys get out there as well. But do you have any questions for me about how the money you have allocated us so generously, thank you, is being spent? Oh, I wowed them.
Such a good
Okay,
job.
all
No
right.
questions
All right,
left.
well, thank you.
Alrighty, moving on to public comment, second call. Yeah?
Can you look at the budget, just real quick, see what's left?
Sure.
I don't, can I email it to you guys?
Sure. Yeah.
We can put it on for next week as part of the advisor piece with everything. And it'll be pending, it'll show what we just allocated tonight for the Student Fashion Association and then pending the Arlo trip.
Any other public comment? Seeing none, just a reminder that we have a meeting next week, April 29th, at 5:30. At this time, I'll move for adjournment.
So moved.
Patrick moves, is there a second? Alrighty, we have a second from Brittany. Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor? All those opposed? All those